We have to start with the undisputed heavyweight champ, New York style. This is the blueprint. Giant 18-inch pies, wide hand-tossed slices, a thin middle crust, and a heavily blistered outer ring topped with a light tomato sauce and full-fat shredded mozzarella. There is only one legal way to eat a true New York slice: you fold it in half lengthwise like a taco. If you don't fold it, you're doing it wrong. That crust has to achieve a very specific structural balance. A light, crispy outer crunch that holds its shape but stays flexible enough to support the weight without snapping in half or dropping hot orange oil onto your shoes. New York purists will fight you to the death over the ingredients. They swear the real secret isn't the flour or the oven, but the unique mineral content in New York tap water. Is that scientific fact, or is it just classic tri-state cope? Either way, it set the national baseline for American fast food. But our next style takes that baseline, turns it upside down, and completely destroys it. Enter Chicago deep dish, and immediately half of the internet is furious. Is this actually pizza, or is it a savory tomato pie wearing a pizza costume? Deep dish flips the entire traditional anatomy of a pizza upside down. Because it bakes in a heavy, high-walled steel pan for up to 45 minutes, placing cheese on the top layer would turn it into incinerated charcoal. So, the assembly line is inverted. Raw dough is pressed into the pan, followed by an absolute wall of sliced mozzarella, then raw sausage or toppings, and finally covered in a thick layer of crushed plum tomato sauce. It takes almost an hour to cook. You are physically forced to eat it with silver utensils, and a single slice contains enough calories to put a grown adult into a silent food coma for 3 days straight. Love it or hate it, Chicago does not care about your rules, and they certainly don't care about your fold. While Chicago and New York suck up all the oxygen fighting online, Detroit quietly created what might actually be the single best pizza style in America: Detroit style. The story behind this one is pure industrial American grit. Back in the 1940s, Detroit pizzaiolos didn't buy standard baking pans. They borrowed heavy blue steel utility trays directly from automotive assembly lines, pans originally designed to hold small machine parts. That high-walled, forged steel is where the magic happens. Instead of standard mozzarella, Detroit uses Wisconsin brick cheese, shredded all the way to the absolute outer edges of the pan. As it bakes at high heat, the fat from the cheese renders down the vertical steel sides, deep frying the edges of the dough and creating a dark, caramelized, insanely crispy cheese crown around the entire perimeter. The crust stays light and airy like focaccia, topped with warm marinara stripes spooned on after it leaves the oven. If you want to spark a genuine fistfight at a dinner party, bring out a St. Louis-style pizza. This is easily the most polarizing, highly aggressive regional style in the entire country. Rule number 1: zero yeast in the dough. That produces an ultra-thin, completely unleavened crust that bakes up flat and snaps like a saltine cracker. Rule number 2: it is never cut into triangular slices. It is sliced into a grid of tiny squares known locally as the party cut. But rule number 3 is what causes full psychological distress for outsiders: Provel cheese. St. Louis completely rejects traditional mozzarella in favor of Provel, a processed, gooey blend of cheddar, Swiss, and provolone. It melts at a very low temperature into a creamy, buttery texture with a distinct, smoky, tangy bite. People in St. Louis treat it like liquid gold. Visitors usually complain that it tastes like hot melted plastic. Where do you stand? If you ask hardcore food critics and Michelin star chefs where the single best pizza in the United States is made, they won't point to New York or Chicago. They'll send you to a small city in Connecticut, New Haven, and around here don't call it pizza, it's called a pizza. Bunkered down in coal-fired brick ovens operating at brutal temperatures well over 800 degrees, New Haven a pizza is intentionally charred on the outside. Those dark, blackened blisters on the crust aren't burnt dough, they are deep, complex carbon flavor. A traditional plain pie in New Haven comes with crushed San Marzano tomatoes, fresh garlic, oregano, and just a faint sprinkle of pecorino romano. No mozzarella whatsoever unless you explicitly ask the line cook for mousse. And their legendary white clam pie, freshly shucked local clams, garlic, heavy olive oil, oregano, and no red sauce at all. It is rustic, intense, and absolutely world-class. In the 1980s, West Coast chefs looked at traditional Italian-American pizza rules, threw them in the trash, and said, "Let's make this weird. Welcome to California style." Pioneered by fine dining legends like Alice Waters and Wolfgang Puck, California style took delicate, wood-fired artisanal crusts and used them as blank canvases for fresh, local, completely non-traditional farm-to-table ingredients. We're talking goat cheese, fresh figs, creamy avocado, smoked salmon, capers, or barbecue chicken with cilantro. Traditionalists consider it an absolute abomination and an insult to pizza heritage, but it single-handedly broke the rules and launched the global fusion pizza movement. Love it or hate it, California proved that your toppings don't have to stop at pepperoni and mushrooms. Now let's talk about the unsung heavyweights of East Coast bakeries, the Sicilian and the grandma pie. A traditional Sicilian pie is a giant rectangle of sheer bread density, over an inch thick, made from a hydrated dough allowed to rise slowly over hours in a deeply oiled pan. It gets crispy and fried on the bottom, stays pillow-soft in the center, and comes loaded with seasoned tomato sauce and thick layers of cheese. It is heavy enough to use as a doorstop. The grandma pie, born in the home kitchens of Long Island, is its leaner, faster cousin. It uses a thinner crust stretched quickly into a baking sheet, brushed with extra virgin olive oil, layered with mozzarella, and finished with coarse, garlicky tomato sauce spooned over the cheese. It tastes unpretentious, homemade, and wildly delicious. And now for the style we promised at the start, the regional secret that almost nobody outside of northeastern Pennsylvania knows even exists. Welcome to Old Forge, a former coal mining town that unironically calls itself the pizza capital of the world. In Old Forge, the terminology is completely different. You don't order a pie or a pizza, you order a tray. You don't ask for slices, you order cuts, and it comes in two primary forms, red or white. The crust is light, airy, almost like a crispy pastry, and baked in long rectangular steel trays. But the absolute wildest part is the cheese blend, a proprietary mixture of white American, Cooper Sharp, and mild cheddar. When baked, it melts into a thick, velvety, insanely rich layer that literally sticks to the roof of your mouth while you eat it. It sounds bizarre to outsiders, but once you take a bite, you realize why the locals are obsessed.